Thank you for watching this episode of She Dreams in Color video series. We do want to let you know that in this conversation, there may be some triggering aspects as we talk about domestic violence, narcissism, and spousal abuse.
I didn't want to tell anyone because it's embarrassing. Because the first thing people say, well, just leave.
Right.
No, it's not always that easy.
Life's a short and precious thing, sweet like honey, and it sure can sting, sure can sting.
I'm super excited today for this episode of She Dreams in Color because I have someone who's very special to me here joining the conversation. This is Tish Miles. She's a wonderful, awesome woman, but I was really fascinated to find out she's a construction project manager. And I was thinking, with these hot nails, what is that like being a construction project manager? So I knew Tish would be perfect to share part of her journey in her occupation and certainly to talk about her obstacles and her personal journey. So Tish, thank you so much for being here today. I really want to dig, thank you. I want to dig into your occupation first because construction project manager fascinated me from the get-go. So talk to me about what you do.
It sounds fancy. It's not all that fancy. I'm not out in the field. I have gone out in the field to do inspections and review stuff and review pictures, but I am mostly indoors, which is nice. But I manage projects from the beginning to end. So when customers need a request, we need this, and we need it here, and when can you do it, and this is our budget. And then I get pricing, and then I manage the project to make sure it looks good, like send me pictures along the way and make sure the invoicing. I work the project from basically cradle to grave.
Cradle to grave. Okay. So when we hear construction project manager, we think you are out in the field. You're standing there with blueprints or something and looking up at tall buildings.
There's different project managers that are on site that are basically overseeing to make sure the work is done, there to answer questions, but they don't do everything. They just do that one portion where I do everything, the budget, to make sure the money, the invoicing, make sure invoices match up to that. If there is a problem afterwards and warranty issues occur, I handle that.
Oh, gosh.
So I handle everything, every aspect of the project.
But it's not exactly an admin job either, is it?
It's not an admin job because it's more involved than just the paperwork aspect of it, because you have to know almost as much, but not on as much of a detailed level as the technicians. So I have to be able to speak their language. You know, when they have an issue, you know, when I was in asphalt concrete, well, hey, you know, how to go about kind of paving a drive-through and the restaurant won't close, you know, and being able to speak to, okay, we have to do this, we have to do that. Well, can you go out here? Well, okay, I need you to make sure this. So you have to prompt them to do what needs to get done so that you can stay within budget, you can stay within the time constraints. So you manage every aspect where they're just the contractors, the on-site project managers are only managing that one aspect. And once they go home, they're done, where I'm still working this project. So that's the difference.
First of all, how did you get into this? I mean, were you growing up saying, I'm going to be in charge of a bunch of construction workers?
No, I started in corporate America and worked my way up, management, and I got tired of managing people. It was like being an adult babysitter. So I got married, and I decided to bite the bullet and sacrifice for the family to work from home. Because we had kids that were in elementary school, and at the time, my husband, we had just got his kids from his ex. So I was like, this is a lot of kids. This is 3 or 4 kids in the house. So I started working from home.
So you
And
left
I
your career.
Yeah, I left my career. He was a truck driver. So I left my career and I started working from home. And I did that for 8 or 9 years. But the marriage was not good. It was mental, emotional abuse. And I really just started getting to a place where I was like, I need to get out of this. But because I had left corporate America and I felt trapped because I wasn't in the know. I wasn't doing it. And now I had this gap in my resume. I was like, okay, I have to do something. So I really started thinking about it. I was like, oh, I'll go back to school, get my master's. And one of my best friends, and who also turned into my mentor at the time, he's like, don't do it. Don't go back to school and spend that money. He was like, what do you like to do? Send me your resume. So I just sent him just an old resume. And I was like, I really like processes. I like improving processes. He said, okay, let's start there. So he started asking me questions, and he said, become a project manager. I was like, well, I didn't know that was like a job, but okay.
Right.
I'm always telling people what to do, so I can do this. And he said, don't spend a lot of money for a course, the $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 to go learn how to take the exam. He said, study. He said, you're smart, study. Here's the materials, here's the resources. And I just started studying. And there's levels to it, and I just started studying, and I scheduled my own exams, and I joined the Project Manage Institute, and that's what happened. And I got in construction because I needed more project hours. So I was like, I need a job so I can get these project hours, so I can get my project management professional certification. And I saw the job for asphalt construction. I was like, I don't know anything about it. I was like, but I'll just go interview just to have the experience, because I'm getting back out there. Let me start interviewing as much as I can just to get comfortable. And I wasn't going to go. And it was on my day off. And I was like, I really don't want to go. I'm not going to get this job. And I went. And after 2 hours in the interview, they hired me.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, I don't know anything about asphalt or concrete. She was like, doesn't matter. We'll teach you everything you need to know.
Wow.
And 4
Because
years.
you knew what mattered. Not only did you know what mattered, you had degrees in education and you studied the parts that mattered.
Right.
But also you had this built-in ability to understand and improve processes. And you knew that about yourself, and they must have heard that and understood it.
Yes. And I did. I came in, and because I look at things, even though I'm in the construction career field, I just look at things different. Like, I don't like touching the same thing multiple times, because to me that equals money. Like, why are we touching this so many times? This is money. How do we improve this process so we're not, or how do we make it easier for whoever we're working with to get us what I need the first time, and I don't have to ask multiple times? Is that changing a form? Is that creating a system? Is that building something in the system? I look for ways. I do my job, but I'm still looking at it from an eye of, how do I decrease the costs? How do I improve the productivity? So that is how I look at stuff.
So I just had an encounter with someone who isn't a very efficient worker. And I kind of dug in a little bit, like, where did that come from? And they were like, oh, I had to do punishment when I was younger, repetitive punishment when I was younger. And it made me a very efficient worker moving forward. And so I'm hearing some of that from you, where you would look at something. Did you feel that kind of urge when you were younger, like a little girl, trying to do your vocabulary homework faster, or trying to get through PE faster? Or were you improving processes younger?
I didn't. To tell you honestly, my son was born 3.5 months premature. So he was only 1 pound, 12 ounces when he was born. And neurologically, he was slower. And they told me, hey, he's going to be slower. It's going to take years for him to catch up. And him and his sister are a year apart. So with him, I had to change how I was doing things, because I had to find myself repeating myself several times. And then I said, you know what, I need to improve this for him, how he receives information so that he's successful. So, that's when I really started becoming structured, because I realized he thrived in a structured environment. And, okay, how can I convey this information better for him to be successful and for him to learn what I'm trying to get him to process.
Wow. And also for you to not be completely exhausted
Exactly.
and still parent your daughter.
Exactly. So I had to improve the process. I had to make it a win-win for them. I didn't want her to feel left out or, oh, well, he's getting all the attention. So that was, I believe, the catalyst, because I had to slow down. Because, as an adult, you're like, get your shoes, get this, grab your coat. And then no, that didn't work for him. So, okay, really slowing down and working on how can I improve this process? How can I make it a win-win for everyone? And that's what project management basically is, making it a win-win for everyone.
And using people where they are.
Exactly.
Because with your son, he was limited and you had to adapt, not the other way around.
Exactly.
But then it was also, getting him to the next level, then you adapt again. How fascinating. How really fascinating. And so that emphasizes a conversation women, I think, know, moms know. The gap, the resume gap is not a complete deficit of knowledge or skill set depletion. You honed in your best assets in your mom years through trial and error that didn't cost any company money. And how fascinating that really also revealed an innate quality and talent that you have that you can now succeed with professionally.
It is. It's hard for women. I truly believe we don't give ourselves enough credit, because I can't do that because I need this. No, you have it. You just don't know where to place it. And it's all about how to manifest that into what you really want to do, where you really want to go. I wouldn't even thought about project management, but he's like, what do you like to do? What are you good at? What is your passion? I was like, I love telling people what to do and making it, improving the process, because I hate being repetitive and not seeing progression.
And that was your mentor
And that was
what
my
was
mentor,
his name?
Julius.
Yeah.
Julius Clark.
Yeah. And he really helped you take the basics, start from the basics.
Yes.
What do you like to do? What are you good at? We'll build from there and then build an education off of that.
Correct.
And then market it.
And he taught me that people always think, oh, I have to go to school. And a lot of women think, oh, I have to go to school. I have to get this education. How am I going to find the time? And then it seems so overwhelming that they don't do anything.
Well, we see women frequently degree themselves out of opportunity because they spend so long getting the papers and never really applying it.
Exactly.
Yeah, or meeting people who can get them into the door. Wow.
Or a lot of times women may be in a situation where they may be in a bad marriage, or they may be a single mother and they may have multiple kids. They may not have that village around them. There's a lot of different scenarios, but they think, I don't have the education. I'm not smart enough to go back to school and college. I didn't even do well in high school. And he showed me that you don't have to go back to school. You don't have to spend all this money. If you just really have the true grit and you really want to make it happen for you and your family, you can do it. And he challenged me. He said, okay, now that you have your project management certification, I challenge you to go out and start mentoring people, start helping other women and showing them that they can do this as well. Certifications are where it's at. So, teaching women that, you can get these certifications, start here. Here are the resources. If you just sit down and study, and then you can go online and schedule your exam, there you go.
You talked about that 8 or 9 years that you were a stay-at-home mom working from home. And luckily you had your mentor to kind of be an outside voice, but did you feel really isolated in that situation from opportunity, from, we all know you get jobs based on who you know. You get interviews based on who you know, at least, at the minimum. But did you feel really isolated in those years?
I felt isolated, like a lot of women do, because a lot of times men can take whatever job they want to. They don't have to worry about how it impacts their family or who's going to take the kids here or, who's going to watch the kids. where I did get offers during that time. I had recruiters reaching out to me, but I couldn't. It was travel, or I'd had to do this. And then I'm like, how can I do this with the family and him gone? And so I felt isolated because, one, I'm in this marriage I don't want to be in. I knew it was toxic. It was, it was abusive. And I just wanted to get out, but I'm very methodical, and I've always been that way in regards to how I move and when to make the best move, not just off of, okay, I spur of the moment, let me go. No, I have to have a plan. And I was like, I know I need to leave. And my mentor heard that. I was like, I can't do this. And I was in a bad place. And he said, okay, we're not going to beat ourselves up. Just tell yourselves, I made a mistake, and now I have to correct it. And he said, and let's get this done. And we got it done.
With a lot of your grit and hard work, and
it was
a lot of late nights, I'm sure.
It was a lot of late nights, and after I checked their homework, I had I had to study, and I failed. I failed my initial project management exam, my certified associate's project manager. I failed both my exams the first time, and I cried. But he was like, we're gonna suck it up.
Oh my goodness.
Reschedule it for 30 days because now it's still fresh in your mind and you study. And that's what I did.
Talk about your journey from realization that you now need to make a plan to leaving and being safe.
There are a lot of professional women who are in some form of abusive relationship. And it's embarrassing to be educated, and I wasn't raised around men like that. All the men that I was with, my uncles, my grandfather, I never saw them raise their voice. I lived with, several family members. So I was always have my little bag, going to this person's house, going to that person's house. So I was like, okay, I have a house for my kids. This is their childhood home. From elementary school through high school. This is their home, and they know the neighbors and the neighbors' kids, and that was my dream for them, which then turned into my nightmare for myself because I just wanted them to have that. A lot of times people have this perception, women who are abused grew up with that, grew up seeing that. And yes, statistics may point in that direction, but I wasn't raised in that environment, so I didn't know what it looked like. But what I did realize is that abusers, they groom you. They are very, and especially if they're a narcissist, they are very charming and they're very loving. They love bomb you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he is so great. He is just the most awesome guy, and he understands me and he supports me. And then all of a sudden it changes. And you don't know why it changed. And you're thinking, is something going on at work? And then it takes you so long. It's just a cycle. And then one day I just finally asked him, I was like, what happened to the man that I fell in love with? Like, what is going on here? And he said he never existed. He looked me in my face and said he never existed.
Once you have this realization, or once he has the brass to say that man never existed, how many tentacles were around you? Like, how deep in were you to now have to look up and try to get out of?
I was deep because I loved him. And no one wants to get married to get divorced, and kids,
We don't see that side of domestic violence relationships. We don't see the sacrifices women make for other people in those situations, the sacrifice of themselves in those situations. And it's almost like you're just being optimistic that you can get through another day, that you can squash another fight, that you can take the brunt of abuse off of other people in the house. Or when you had that interview, were you still married when you had the interview that you almost didn't go to?
We were divorced, but we were still living in the home together.
Oh, goodness.
Because I was still hopeful. I was still hopeful. And he used to always tell me, he said, that's your problem. You're hopeful.
Oh, God.
But I was still hopeful because I was like, okay, the kids are getting ready to graduate. And his daughter was the older, so she would graduate, and I had 3 graduating every year for 3 years straight. I was like, I just need to get her because he always threatened. He said, if you leave, you will never speak to her again. And you'll never be able to see her. And with her being so close to my kids in age, that they were best friends. So the kids were like, well, we don't want to move and leave her. And, she didn't want me to leave. And so now I'm like, okay, if I can just get them through high school and they can all graduate in the family home, then I can make a break for it. But I guess God had another plan. In January 2018, I was doubled over in pain and went to the doctor, got an ultrasound, came back. They were like, you have a mass and it's cancerous.
Oh, my goodness.
And we can't get to it to do a biopsy on it.
Oh, God.
So within 2 weeks, I had surgery, and that was the catalyst for me. Because I'm thinking, okay, I've raised these children. Even though we're not married, we're still living in the house together. We're still seeing each other on a daily. Maybe this will, and I was still hopeful. So, well, maybe this will be the light bulb, or he'll see, gosh, I may lose this woman. No, that's not what happened.
They don't change like that.
No.
Even something that life-changing doesn't change that abuser.
No, it doesn't. He sent me a text. He said, you're on your own. Worry about you and your family. And I'm going to do me, and don't make me feel bad about it. I remember praying because the doctor was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to find until I get in there. And I remember praying. I said, God, I said, I've always been a praying woman, but I said, if you get me through the other side of this, so I can see my kids graduate, you get me through the other side of this, I said, I will follow whatever path you set for me. I don't have to, I'm project manager, but I'm going to let you manage this project.
That's a big negotiation.
And I knew it was a big negotiation because I always wanted to be in control. I have stood by that agreement. I don't always agree. I don't know why he's taking me in certain directions or making me do certain things, but I follow whatever path because I was like, And my son graduated, and then my daughter was to graduate the next year, and I said, look, do you want to graduate in this house and have the party like everyone else? She said, Mommy, I'll be fine wherever we go. And he went to work. And
begin the Lifetime movie.
I said movers up.
That's right.
Everything. And we moved while he was at work. And literally it was a village. We were throwing stuff in cars and trucks. And I got out of there because I knew it would be a fight.
Yeah.
And I knew that the police would have to be called. Yeah. And I was tired. I was tired of the neighbors seeing the police at our house. I was just tired. I said, I just need to make this move. It's already stressful enough because I'm having to leave really with nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Less than what I came in with. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I did it. Mm-hmm. And I have not looked back. And it was hard, getting your peace back. Mm-hmm. I still, as embarrassing as it is, I still a lot of times sleep with the lights on. Just to, not having that fear of someone standing over you when you wake up like, right. Well, why did you do this? So
that makes my chest tight. That kind of just mental torment. And you said multiple examples of, when we're growing up and we hear, or even in movies, we see domestic violence. He calls you fat, stupid, hits you in the face, kicks you in the stomach. That's domestic abuse. But then when it happens to you, it is, you'll never get that job. You don't have a degree. You can't leave the kids. You're a bad mom if you think you're going to travel for work. It's, good luck with this cancer. I'm not taking you to your appointment, or committing to you and then not being there for you, yes. Threatening you to see your stepdaughter. That is the form domestic violence takes in so many situations.
Yes.
Financial abuse. You now have a house together and you are working from home, so you can't even afford to live on your own. And I truly believe the more we talk about, as embarrassing and uncomfortable and gun shy as we are talking about our experiences, it will save other women. I know it does, because I heard that what I was experiencing was domestic violence. And that was the first time I had heard it. I was like, what? I thought everybody went through this. I thought this was normal to have someone turn the lights on at 4 a.m. and bust the bedroom door open and scare you out of a deep sleep. I thought that was
Yes.
normal if your husband's mad at you about leaving dishes in the sink.
That's part of marriage.
Right, right.
And it isn't, and it's such a methodical way they groom you, and I was called stupid. I don't know if I can curse or not, but I have been so many bitches and hoes that I just became numb to it.
Mm-hmm.
And, stupid. Oh, to be so, because he wasn't educated, but I had my college degree, and to be so educated, you sure are stupid.
Oh God, that's so.
And he would always make those, and when we would go places, and I'm pretty much shy and kind of an introvert, but I've learned in my professional life I know how to turn on being an extrovert in public settings. And I go someplace, and hey, how are you? And I know how to engage people.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, you think people like you? They don't like you. They, they're just you don't know how to talk to people. People don't like you. They just tolerate you. Oh, you're around here trying to be a housewife of Charlotte. It was just like everything. Like, he would just tear it down. And you just think, oh, he's just in a bad mood.
Or you think, he knows me better than anybody knows me. This must be true.
Yes.
He sees me. I'm fake. I go in public and I fake it, and I'm a horrible, crazy woman.
Right.
And for him to tell me, he must know. And then the isolation that is part of the grooming process. You leave your friends, or you don't tell your friends, or it's just such a vicious cycle. And I think the name calling is really one of the wake up moments for me. A friend of mine confided in me that her husband called her a bitch, and she was livid, and she was done. And I was thinking, oh wait, is that like a boundary, or is that
and you get mad, and in your mind you have these boundaries, but then it comes, oh, I'm so sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You are the best thing that's ever happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I would never want to hurt you. And then it's the love bombing. It's the, oh, he really does love me, and the flowers, and the public outside of the house, they speak so highly of you.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They set this environment of, if you ever say anything, people are not going to believe it. Like, oh no, well, he's the nicest guy. He cuts everybody's grass. He does this. And anytime we go over there, he'll help us.
Mm-hmm.
And, but he speaks so highly of her, and he says she's so great. But behind closed doors, you're the worst thing that ever happened. You're a bad mom. He doesn't know why he married you. And you just learn to suck it up.
There's also the threat that statistically has been proven that women face in the workplace. So if you did work outside of the home, which happened to me, it started to trickle into my job.
Mm-hmm.
And, now people at work are starting to find out, and now he's showing up at work and calling work, and I'm on my phone all day, and I got to leave because there's drama at the house that I have to deal with, or it's going to be worse at night when I get home. And so businesses would do better to protect their employees from those toxic, violent relationships, because it typically goes into the workplace.
It does. And working from home, it was hard because I would be trapped. I couldn't go.
Tish.
It wasn't like I could leave the house and go
have a break.
No, I was there all day.
And we're seeing that through COVID.
Yes.
People working from home.
And there was an instance where he came home and he was so mad, and I was on the phone, and I had the phone on mute, and I had one of those wall mirrors, and he kicked the mirror and shattered it. And I had to call, she was like my lead at the time, and I said, hey, I have to take the rest of the day off. And I sent her a picture of the mirror. I was like, look, And, she was good. Okay, let's establish a code word. So if you call me and you say this, I know to call the police. Because he had only put his hands on me one time. He had did little things, like I was leaning over in the refrigerator and he kicked the refrigerator door on me, or he'd throw things at me. But one time he put his hands on me, and I always told him, I was like, I wasn't always saved before I met you.
Right.
I was in these streets knocking heads around. And when he grabbed me, it was his instinct. So he realized, she's a fighter. So he went back and restructured his approach.
Right.
And
it doesn't diminish the abuse that you experience.
But he learned to, he learned to get sharper with his words. He give me the silent treatment. And that is, people think, oh, that's good, he's not talking. It's worse because you don't know. It's hard when someone does not speak to you, and it's just like they play you as, you're so insignificant, you're not even worthy of me speaking to.
But it also keeps your cortisol levels and your adrenaline in fight and flight mode ongoing 24 hours.
Yes.
Because you don't know, are they going to love bomb you now? Is it going to be better? Or are they going to get mad and finally say something?
He had taken the carpet off of the stairs, and he had replaced it with wood panels, and he wore his work boots. So even now, when I hear that thud of like work boots on wood, that is a trigger, because I would hear him coming up the stairs, and I didn't know like what person is going to hit the landing of the stairs. You just don't know.
I want to ask a little more because it's important to me to see more women in different positions in the workplace. And so for you to have a lead woman who you could call and confide in, do you think you would have had the same feeling of comfort if it was a man in that position calling and saying, this is what's going on in my house? I wonder how that would have unfolded if you didn't have a safe place to speak to someone at work, to get a little bit of leeway. Just give me a break.
But I didn't really go into detail where I didn't go into detail with anyone.
Mm-hmm. So you hit it either way.
I hit it either way because people like to judge you. And I started losing friends or friends started backing away because one, they didn't want to, I think in their mind, they didn't want to make it worse for me, because they'd be like, oh yeah, you can go to these places. And then I would go, and he would call nonstop. He would text nonstop. And then he would have an attitude as soon as I hit the door.
Yeah.
So it started becoming to where I didn't want to go anywhere because I knew what was going to happen. And I didn't want to tell anyone because it's embarrassing. Because the first thing people say, well, just leave.
Right.
No, it's not always that easy. There's all these, and then people tend to not focus on the abuser, but on the victim. And they shame people. They victim shame. I took more than half pay cut working from home. And it is the financial piece of a lot of men hold that financial piece over women's heads. One day I came downstairs, and on the kitchen island, he had a application for a gun permit. And he had it out so I could see it. Later on, he was like, oh, well, no, I wasn't trying to scare you or anything. But you know what it was. I knew.
Right.
And I was like, nah, I'm not.
A gun in the home increases the statistics for you being killed by that gun. I think when women know these signs and the data that goes behind it, it can be a catalyst to, okay, I have to now make my 3-year plan a 1-year plan.
Right, no, a 6-month plan.
6-month plan.
And people don't realize that in this country, with all the wealth and all the resources, women and children are so unprotected. Even when you call the police, because they are, and police will tell you those are the most dangerous calls to go on are domestic abuse calls. But a lot of times, especially when they just send men out, and you can tell they really don't want to be there, like, oh, it's just a family dispute. Okay, yeah, I know he's acting crazy. And then they give them option. Okay, well, who wants to leave? And he goes, I'm not leaving. And I'm having to pack 3 kids up and go to my neighbor's house. And they have school in the morning. We're so unprotected. And then if you kill your spouse, but he's been portraying to the neighborhood and everyone that he's so great.
And you haven't called 911 because you don't want to escalate it. You don't want the drama.
Or you haven't said anything really to anyone or gone into depth because it's embarrassing. Oh, she just killed him for insurance money, or she killed him for this, or we're not protected. And the majority of women die from their husbands or boyfriends. That is the number one cause of our death.
Well, it's the number one cause of death for pregnant women is homicide. And that is startling.
It is.
So that's why we do this, is so women like you can share your knowledge, what you've been through. Someone can see themselves in you, Tish, and see that they have the tenacity and the strength and the grit to do the plan and get that escape.
It's hard. I'm not going to tell anyone it's easy. It is not easy. You know, I had to really sit back and say, what in me attracted that? And that was a hard conversation and a hard mirror, but, you know, looking at and why I stayed so long. And I had to do the work. And it was hard and it was revealing, and I didn't want to repeat that.
What was one thing you did in the healing process to ensure you didn't repeat with your next partner?
Therapy. Yeah. And talking to other women, going to abuse, you know, you can anonymously go sit in on group meetings of abused women.
Really? They have like abuse AA type of...
Right.
Really?
And, you know, go to like meetup or something like that and listen to know, you know what, I'm not alone. I'm not. And the other thing that may sound crazy, TikTok, there were a couple of men on there who were narcissists. And I didn't know it was a personality disorder.
Because of the videos of men who are proclaimed narcissists explaining what they do?
Yes, this one guy, he taught me the triggers of how they do what they do. Ruining holidays, ruining birthdays, things that they know are important to you and that you're looking forward to.
No one should have to modify their behavior to someone's every single whim.
I still talk back and I still, you know, but I got tired of fighting all the time. And they thrive off of conflict.
Yeah. Tish, this has been so overwhelmingly
I'm sorry,
full.
we got off track
we did
here.
not get off track at all. It's great information, and I know it will touch someone, more than one person, who is at home privately watching the video and listening to your story and really connecting with what they're feeling and what they're going through. And hopefully your story is one step in their process of freedom and safety and the new life and the way you glow and the warmth and the energy that you provide. I know that you are on the other side of like happiness in this life that you have now.
Peace is priceless. Peace.
Today's t-shirt is from Charlotte-based Courageous Shift, and it was created by Melody Gross. She's not just a domestic violence survivor, she's also an advocate and a speaker and a coach, and she works with corporate America particularly to educate C-suite executives on the impact domestic violence has, not just on their employees and the workplace, but also on the bottom line. And this shirt says, "Reclaim your resilience." And I thought that was appropriate for Tish's story because what she shared with us was that everything that was stolen from her in that relationship, she reclaimed it and used that resiliency that she had to create a much better and more beautiful life for herself.
It's our turn. Won't let it burn. It's our turn.